Northwest. What's your experience with this part of the country?
Well, I've driven up the 5 like a lot.
Okay.
Yes, I know the Pacific Northwest pretty well.
Perfect. Good.
I love the weather.
Yeah, it's a little bipolar. Yesterday was real sweaty. Today it's a little muggy.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it could snow. Who knows?
And it's all lovely.
Yeah. You get to see the mountain before it disappeared?
Yes, I
Good.
did. I
Good.
just saw that. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you here. We were going to ask you a few questions about your fantastic career, and then these folks have already been coming up with questions of their own. They're excited to ask you. So.
Okay. Can you hear in the back there now? Not really. Can we turn the mic up?
Yeah. Let's see.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Is that any better? Okay. Good.
There you go.
Good. There you go.
All right.
Taking pictures.
All right. So, as I mentioned, just off stage, I'm a public school teacher, so I'm always curious on how people's education has impacted their career. And I've read that you went to Yale to study American Lit. Has that had any impact on your chosen career as being an actor?
Well, I think in a way, well, first of all, it certainly is helpful in terms of being able to analyze character and to analyze text. That's really helpful. And I think in an odd way, like I wanted to study American literature because I wanted to learn more about myself. Because so much of American literature is about finding yourself, and it's usually sort of other-based and outsider-based, and I had always felt that way, and so by studying it, I felt like basically I was just trying to figure out who I was as I'm studying these other people.
It's fascinating. And still now, you're still diving into characters, and do you find yourself still learning things about yourself when you take on a new character?
Constantly. Like, I don't know anybody who feels like they're the same from year to year. Like, don't you feel like New Year's comes and you're kind of looking back at your year and you're thinking about who you were like a year ago, and you're like, who was that person? And look at how far we've come and how we've grown, or the challenges that we've surmounted, and I feel like I'm constantly growing. And I also know that each character helps the next character. Like, I wouldn't have been able to play Margot Taft if I hadn't have played Beth. Like, there's so many characters that I would not have been able to play had the original seed not been planted. Like, Garza Fwip is like a relative of Beth Porter in a way, because they both have this incredible strength and are able to navigate people, albeit very differently, but like each one sort of begets the next. So, yeah. And I'm starting a new project next month, and the character is very different. Like, it's different than a lot of the other characters I've played, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's very heart-centered. It's a very heart-centered person, and they don't really have that much in common with Beth, actually, or Garza. Like, it's a very different gestalt, I guess.
Tapping into a new area.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you broke on to the scene with your movie Flashdance, and you did that while in school, correct?
Yes.
Yes. What a massive weight that must have been, right?
Well, I was so naive, I didn't know that it was a weight. I just thought, oh, that's interesting. Like, I remember, well, first of all, the first film that I did was a little film called My Bodyguard. Yay. And I was a special extra in that movie. Oh, I see a thumbs up for My Bodyguard. And so when I got Flashdance, I was so young, it didn't occur to me like I'm carrying a movie or anything like that. I just thought, oh, I get to go play this person. And I had been at school for about a week, maybe a little longer, and I found out I got the part, and I told my agent, just well, I don't know if I want to do it yet. Like, I have to ask if I can take a term off. And of course, they had a mini heart attack, right? This 18-year-old saying, oh, I don't know if I want to do it. And so luckily the dean said, yes, there are a lot of people who take time off to go do special projects and things. So, so when I went to do it, it just, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't very bright, but I didn't really think it through. But I had so much fun a lot of the time, and it wasn't until later, much later, that I realized like what a honor and responsibility it is. Like, it was later in my life that I realized, like, okay, when you're the lead, it's kind of like hosting this amazing party. Like, you want everybody to feel good, and then there's a part that's like, okay, we've all got to do this together and be our best selves, and to kind of model that for the rest of the cast and the crew. So my perception of what it is to be number one on the call sheet shifted, because I had no idea when I was a girl. I had no idea.
Now, preparation for that, I've read that you've since trained, I think, in martial arts and as an athlete, right? Did you run triathlons?
I did triathlons. Yeah. There's somewhere on, like, I don't know, Wikipedia or IMDb where it says like I'm some martial artist. I am so not a martial artist.
Not a ninja, okay.
Not a ninja.
All right.
In fact, I trained for, like, I did a self-defense class, which is a long, sort of sad story, which we won't go into because I don't want to make you sad today. But trained in this class, and the last thing that you did is, like, the guy dressed up in this big padded outfit, and he pinned you down, and you had 60 seconds to get up. The good news was I got up, and I'm not allowed to swear, am I? Anyway, kicked his
we're
ass.
mostly adults
Kicked his
here.
ass in like 20 seconds. But then I was so hyped up with adrenaline. But I sat down, and then it was some other woman's turn to go do this class, and I noticed, my foot feels really weird. And I looked over, and I had broken my toe, and it was like dangling because I had kicked him, and my toe had gotten caught in the thing. Didn't even notice. Like, I was just like gonna get up, and I was gonna kick his ass, and we were just gonna move on to the next person. So that was the extent of my martial arts. So no, I have not trained as a martial artist.
Well, where I was going with this is, what was
Sorry.
your...
Sorry, I derailed the conversation.
We're learning here. That's the point here. What was your experience with dance before taking on the role of Flashdance?
I had trained as a dancer for a while, but mostly for fun. You know, it wasn't like I had any expectation of being a dancer. Like, I think it was really a way to be in my body, and I enjoyed music, and I enjoyed dancing, and then later in my life, like, the triathlon was really a way to be in my body and to push myself. And then as I got older, I was like, I really just like the swim part. So I'm just gonna do the swim. And so I've just been doing open water swimming more than anything. Like, I realized very late in the game that the bike is the biggest part of the race. That's the longest part of the race. And I was like, I don't even like the bike that much. Why am I doing this to myself? And I realized I was like being a penitente. And I was like, well, you don't have to be a penitente. Like, you did this is nice. Go do the part that you enjoy and challenge yourself in that way. And so I just started long distance, like, open water swimming, which was fun.
What bodies of water are you talking? Big bodies of water?
Like the Pacific Ocean. Wow. Like, I would swim along the coast, and like, I go from, I don't know if anybody's from LA, but I go from Annenberg to Temescal and back. Oh, wow. And then there was one summer, much to the chagrin of my husband, like, we were doing like a little cross Canada or cross BC tour, and I was compulsive about swimming across like practically every lake we came to. Even, Lake Louise, I'm like, I gotta swim across Lake Louise. And so I put the wetsuit on and everything, and I was still so cold, I couldn't do it. Like, my throat was so cold. And I found some, went to the store and got some diaper cream, put the diaper cream on my throat so that I could do the swim, and swam across Lake Louise. And all the tourists are like, what is happening right now? Who is that person in the water, that crazy person? But it was so beautiful. Like, I looked down in the water, and it was this incredible green, and I turned to take a breath, and there were the mountains. It extraordinary, extraordinary. And nobody came to this talk to hear me talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't swim in the ocean much up here. Cold plunge, about maybe 10 minutes in the Puget Sound.
But it's so nice to be in the cold water.
It is. My wife loves it. She cold plunges probably 3/4 of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of health benefits. But we're going to go on to maybe something a little more interesting.
Yeah. Something more, you know.
So you have worked with you've been in some amazing films. You've worked with some heavy hitters in the world of Hollywood and acting. Do you have a highlight that stands out in your film career? Do you have a highlight that when you're looking back on your life, you're like, okay, this is probably a peak. You know, obviously being lead on Flashdance is like out the gate is a pretty big one, but
yeah, there's probably a couple like really extraordinary experiences. Like Book of Eli was an amazing experience.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah, and
Yep.
Gary Oldman. Like I worked with Gary and Mila quite a bit, and working with Gary was definitely a highlight. And you know, I loved playing Bet, and I loved playing Margot Taft on The Last Tycoon because she's wonderful playing Barbara. But yeah, I mean, you learn something from every part. You really do. You learn something from every part.
Absolutely. Looking back on your career, though, again, do you have a preference now? Television or film?
My preference is for a really great story.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what the budget is. It's just like I want to be inside a really great story. And I think ever since I was a little kid, like when my mom would read me a story, I'd say, "Put me in the story. Can you put me in the story?" and that's what it is for me. Like I want to be inside the story, and I want it to offer something to people in some way. You know, like to make an offering. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. Now I know we have a lot of L-Word fans in the house. Now, my question is, what about the series inspired you to reprise the role and to even step into the producer role in the follow-up series?
Well, it was something that Kate and Leisha and I had brought to Eileen because we realized, first of all, nothing had replaced it, and it was so important. It was so important for the community, and it was so important for all of us in a way because all of us made stronger from witnessing those stories. And what we realized, though, that there was a whole new generation that was changing how we talk about gender, how we talk about sexuality, and that was really interesting. And I felt like those people were so brave and so unapologetic as to who they were and are, and weren't allowing anyone else to define them, that they would define themselves, and if they had to change the English language to do so, they would change the English language to do so, which is extraordinary. Like, think about the will that takes to absolutely shift culture in that way. And I was like, we need to tell those stories. We have to tell those stories, and that's a natural continuation of the L word. And so we pitched it to Eileen, and we showed how on social media, even at that time, so many people were still talking about the L word. It was still so much a part of culture, albeit on social media platforms. And you know, so Eileen pitched it to Showtime, and then we were off to the races. And I know that they're working on an L word, New York L word. So we'll see where that goes. But it, you know, it takes a long time to make a show, y'all. You gotta be patient. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I'm the resident Star Wars fan on staff here at SummerCon, and so I've got my baby Yoda shirt on here for you. Did you get to work intimately with Grogu? Did you get to play with him on set?
No.
No.
I had no Grogu interaction.
Oh, it's so sad.
Which was sad.
That is very sad.
But, you know, I got to be in the cantina all the time.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
That is very
I mean,
amazing.
and it was mine. Like,
Right.
you know, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And the cantina had plants in a place where water was at a premium. Like, I'm feeding the plants the water that people are dying over. Like, that's nuts. Like, that's how
That
intense
is
the
an
person is.
amazing detail that they don't really even emphasize in the show, but that really does
But
show.
that's the kind of stuff that I thought of. And what was really lovely is, like, I talked to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni about it. I was like, would it be okay? What do you think about her having a different wardrobe? Because usually in the Star Wars shows they wear the same costume. And they said, well, she's so wealthy. Like, it would be a show of that kind of luxury would be a show of her wealth. And so they agreed to it, which was great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and Shauna did all those beautiful costumes, and God rest her soul, and she'd be happy to see
Right.
it.
Yeah, no, that was the costuming on that show is fantastic, and all those Disney Plus shows, they truly go the extra mile, right? 'Cause, but I'm curious now, how has been your entry into the Star Wars world, the fandom, right? It can be very, very passionate.
I love it. I mean, look at, like, I got introduced by all these amazing people. Yeah, I love it. I mean, who doesn't fantasize about being in Star Wars? You know, in that universe. It was so much fun. I mean, I went to work giddy every day. I was so early every day, just so I could walk around the set, just so I could, you know, be there and soak it up. And
What was your relationship with Star Wars before the Book of Boba Fett?
well, I mean, I think the Force introduced me to what I had suspected. Do you know what I mean? Like, I took the Force very seriously. And I think that when you're in the forest, or you're in the ocean, when you're in the middle of the ocean, or you're in the forest, you do feel the Force. I mean, it's like a quantum physics fact. And so by placing that idea in my mind when I was really young, I think it sort of started to help form my idea of spirituality. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the casting, I'm going to go on a limb and say it's probably due to your past of working with Robert Rodriguez, or is that just coincidental?
I don't know. I think it was a Jon Favreau thing, because John and I had worked together on Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle, which was way before then. But I think that's how that happened. But maybe it's both of them. I'm not sure.
Okay. And how was, did Robert direct your episode?
Yes. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I can't tell you. Like, I can't sing their praises enough. Like, you walk on set and the level of excellence is out of control. And the calm and the passion for the project, and everybody is so excited to be there. Like, there are some shows where people are just tired and they're making a living, and I get that. And then you're on that set, and everybody is so passionate about every single detail. And what's also really beautiful on that set is that all the departments would help one another out. Like, there was really a coordinated effort to have each other's backs. Like, it was a singular experience, like truly a singular experience.
I know that Star Wars kind of has a long history of that being like interworking among departments, because a lot of the guys, like in the alien costumes, were like the animators who just weren't animating at that time. And like Matthew Wood is the voice of General Grievous, but he's also the sound engineer, you know.
Oh,
and
that's
so
interesting.
they do have, you know, Lucasfilm has a good bond with their departments. Did you film on the volume? Did they?
Oh, yeah.
They built the.
Yeah. And there's like, so do you want to explain what the volume is?
Okay, so for the volume, Lucasfilm created this kind of new technology. Instead of, you guys are familiar with green screen and blue screen, right? Where they'll later on project, in post, right? Well, they instead created like one of the most impressive, almost 360-degree LED screen, and it actually projects in super, super high quality. So when you're looking out at a sunset, the sunset's reflecting back on you. So they're not at the, I mean, it's in real time. And as the camera moves, the image shifts to show you the perspective. So it's the state-of-the-art technology, but it's in this like dome like this, right?
Yeah. And what's so significant about that as an actor is that you're not, like with a green screen, you're having to just imagine everything, which is fine. But in this case, I don't have to imagine those things. All of that stuff is right there, and that's incredible. And then to orchestrate that, you'll walk in and there'll be banks of these guys, moving, but levers. I don't even have the words for it. The levers to make sure all of that is moving seamlessly. It's incredible. It's just an incredible feat.
It is an amazing thing, and it brings a level of realism that you don't quite capture with green screen, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I was treated so, I have a small part in that show, and every time I come to work, people are like, is there anything that we can get you to help you? Like, what do you need? Can we help you? Like, it was just really, it was a really extraordinary group.
Now, of course, the burning question, I'm sure you've been asked a million times, not that we're asking for any spoiler information, but what do you think happened to your character since she was left on a very explosive ending?
Well, I think she was protected by the Force, obviously.
We are very excited, hopefully, to see her once again. Now, a lot of Star Wars are collectors, and unfortunately, there's very little Garza Fwip collectibles and figurines. I think what I have seen so far is a little like clip-on keychain, like a little stuff. Yeah, have you seen that?
No.
No, yeah, you do have a little character that you can clip on backpacks and whatnot. But since Star Wars collectors or Star Wars fans are typically collectors, any collectors out there, Star Wars fans? Yeah, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. What would be your dream item to see made on your character?
I don't know. I would like one of those little. Is it the Funko?
The action. Oh, the Funko Pops. Yeah.
Yeah, like an action.
Little bobbleheady type.
There was somebody who made one like out here. I don't know if they're here, but somebody made like a little figurine, and their I want to say partner. I'm not sure if it was their spouse or but their partner painted it like so exquisitely. It was so well done. It was beautiful.
The art and the creativity of Star Wars fans is super impressive. Yeah. Well, let's see. I think we have some. You guys have questions. And the whole front row, I know, has questions. They've been here for hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up for Q&A. What we're going to do is ask you to line up right here at the middle. I'll come down with a microphone. You'll introduce your, give us your name and your question, and we'll answer a few questions. All right. Who's see? I knew it. I knew it. All right.
I can't listen. My name's Antonia, and my question is, are you going to bring out the Elwood book again?
Why are you reading my mind? I was sitting here going, when should I let them know that the L Word book is now going to be available? Wait, yes, she's my mood. So for those people who are not L Word fans, let's just catch them up what's happening right now. So I studied photography when I was in college and was obsessively photographing, for a very, very long time. And I photographed the L Word, my time on the L Word from the very first, very first rehearsal, and when I knew that the original L Word was coming to an end, I decided to make a book of the photographs for the cast and crew. And then it became clear that, there's so many fans that might be interested in this book. So then I interviewed various cast members, and I put in pieces of scripts and different memorabilia in the book, and I made it available to fans, and a portion of the proceeds would go to charity. And it just it sold out instantly, and so that no, that's not true. It was in a print on demand sort of situation, and that company shifted their business model, and so I didn't have a publisher anymore. And so I just recently found somebody, after years and years and years and years of being super lazy and not taking care of it, I found somebody who's gonna print it now. So yes, so it works coming back.
I have a follow-up question regarding that. Would you release any of the photos that you took during Gen Q?
I have to think about that. I think they asked me about that too. I have to go through and see what I have. Because if there's not enough there to really tell a story, then it would feel like an appendage, kind of. So I'm not sure. Like, would you want pictures of that? And if so, what pictures would you want?
Literally anything.
You're so
I have a
funny.
question actually about photography. So, I'm not a photographer, but I'm a huge fan of photography, and your still photos, I really do enjoy them. But this is more on like a back-end question. What's your favorite camera? What is your most used camera? Because that's not always the same thing. And
Right.
what is your favorite part of the development process?
Well, okay, now everybody else is getting super bored. It's like, oh God, we have to hear about open water swimming and photography. So my favorite camera that I've ever had is a Leica M4 II. It was Gary Winogrand's old camera. Yeah. And so I took photography at Yale, and Tom Romo was one of my teachers, and I was shooting with this crappy little camera, and he said, we need to get you a better camera. He said, my friend's wife is selling his cameras, he passed away. And so I went into the East Village in New York, and I went to this lady's apartment, and she had all these cameras set out, and I was like, that one, because that's the one I can probably afford and make do with. And it's this incredible camera. I do not like the digital version of it. It's heavy. Like, I was gonna bring it today, and I just thought, oh my God, why are you so heavy? This is not the point of the Leica M4 II. Like, the Leica is supposed to be light and quiet, and you're kind of heavy and loud. What happened to you? But I still love you. Like, I treat all my cameras like people, and I talk to them, especially when they're misbehaving, and because I shoot analog mostly. And so besides that, I love the Rolleiflex. Like, I have a Rolleiflex. But I like 6.7. It depends on the situation, mostly. But the like I have a fondness for the Rollie too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, the development process. Here, take another nap. Yeah, I used to develop all my own stuff until I realized like I was saturating myself and stopped that. And, but I did discover like developing film with Rodinal, which was really cool. Like a friend gave me this recipe, this Rodinal recipe that makes these incredible highlights around the blacks. That's really beautiful. So if anybody does their own developing, go experiment with Rodinal. It's really cool. Maybe I'll post the recipe. I think I found it recently. Anyway.
Hi, my name is Gabby.
Hi, Gabby.
My question is, now that we have Generation Q and you have a lot of options, what's your favorite Bev and Tina scene? Do you have a favorite one?
Oh, well, like I loved doing the awful scene where we had that terrible fight that Tony Goldwyn directed. Like, that was so intense to do as an actor. But there's also a part of me that really loves when Beth is chasing her car to the airport. Like, it's so romantic, and it's really, really beautiful. So I don't know, there's so many.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Casey, and I don't really have a question, but I wanted to tell you that I grew up watching Flashdance like every single day, and even though I was only, I think I was probably 4 or 5, maybe not inappropriate.
I was just gonna say it.
I
As a
know.
few scenes flipped through my head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
I was an only child, my mom was at work, so
Yeah.
I grew up and I wanted to be you, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like her, I'm gonna be a dancer. And then when I got older and you were in Star Wars, now my kids get to know you in a whole new way, and just like your show, The L Word, is such an important show for
Oh, thank
my
you.
family.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to say hi.
Hi. Thanks for
Okay,
coming.
thank you.
Any questions?
Hi, my name's Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I'm so glad you mentioned My Bodyguard because
Okay.
when I was like a scheme, that was like my favorite movie of all time. It really meant a lot, so that's so cool that that was your first film.
Yeah, and you know, that's really like kind of what started stuff in a way. Like I was walking on the street, like school had let out, and I guess I maybe was a freshman. I was gonna be a freshman maybe. And so it's just the beginning of summer, and I see a friend of mine, and he says, you know, oh, the drama teacher is looking for you. I'm like, why? What's going on there? And he said, oh, this movie's come to town, and they're looking to have kids audition, and he wants you to go in and audition for this movie. So I went in and I met Tony Bill, the director, and I was 13, maybe 14, and Tony was so cool and really, really nice. And he's like, well, you're not right for the lead, but I'd really like you to be part of this movie. And I was thrilled. And so I got to spend the days with Joni Cusack and Matt Dillon and Adam Baldwin and Chris Makepeace. And Joni just would make us laugh every day. And Tony Bill, the director, became a friend. And he helped me get my first agent in LA. And here's so crazy, like I have just always, like I'm a worker, like I'm just used to working. I don't like it when I'm not working. It's really weird. Ever since I was like this high, my mom like has, you know, things where I would make lists of all the things I had to do. And in any case, so the summer after Flashdance, I didn't have a project because there was nothing that I read that I was like dying to do. But it was a very strange time because I don't like to not work. And so Tony said, well, why don't you come work for me as a reader, because he was a producer and a director, so he's seen all your scripts. He goes, that way, you know, you have a job, because I know how you feel about working, and then you can see what's going on in town. And so I spent the summer at his and his wife's house. Like I boarded with them, and I read scripts all day, and I worked for him, and so it was an amazing beginning. He's a really, really lovely, lovely man.
Awesome. Quick question about Book of Boba Fett. What was it like to wear the headpiece?
Oh, it's awesome. It was like a crown. I felt like I was wearing a crown. And they make it so light, you know. I don't know what they were like at the lake who were like in the beginning, but they now have made them so light, and that I felt like I didn't really need to take them off very often at all. Yeah. Thank you.
Did you go into a deep dive about your species once you got cast?
Oh gosh, poor Dave. Like I was like, hi, it's me again.
Hi, my name's Riley. So
Hello.
I was just wondering that throughout your time of working with these major studios, what piece of memorabilia were you able to keep that possibly had the most impact, or your favorite piece that you've kept?
Memorabilia. I really wish I had Garza memorabilia, but I don't. I would have gotten in so much trouble if I had taken something. I have lots of stuff from the L Word, and in fact, there's a episode where Bette and Tina are in this are doing the samba in this dance contest. I don't know if you all remember that.
Yes.
So I realized that I had my costume from that, and so I gave it to Glisten, and they're going to auction that off to benefit Glisten. So that's nice. I have a lot of signed scripts and things like that, but I don't have a ton of memorabilia. I wish I had stuff from Book of Eli too, because that was really cool. I do have from Book of Eli. Because my character was in the desert, and I had made this necklace that would have been mine, and I told the costumer, I said, I'd like to make it actually, so that I have the tactile thing of making it and figuring out what's on it, and so I have that, and that's kind of a special piece to me. That's somewhere. Thank you.
I'm Sam.
Hello.
You did mention that the L Word New York was happening. And
Oh, look at you and your voice went up. Because I trying to get more information.
And I was just wondering, are we going to see Bette and Tina on the L Word New York? Can you tell us anything?
I can't tell you. I'll get in so much trouble. The fact that I told you what I told you, like, there's probably I'm gonna get a phone call.
You're not saying anything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mom's the word. Mom's the word. Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jules.
Hi, Jules.
Okay, so I know you fought a lot for that story sometimes, pushed for certain things.
Yes.
Would you ever consider being a director of an episode? And
No,
what
I
kind of-
never wanted to direct an episode. I never wanted to direct, period, because I was married to a director for 10 years. And we have a very good relationship. We are exes and we work together still. Sometimes I help him produce. But watching the directing process, I'm like, I don't think so. I would have to write it in order to direct it.
Would you want to be a writer?
Maybe, but I don't know. But I really enjoy producing. Like I have lots of projects that I'm producing. One of which is with Elgin James, who is the showrunner for the Mayans. And so there's like this wonderful synergy that's happening right now over there. So yeah, I really love storytelling. I love putting stories together. I love coming up with different stories, and my producing partner and I will write treatments together and start, writing outlines and things together. We have a book that we did together, as you probably know, called The Hive. But I haven't made that leap in my mind to directing yet. Yeah, it's not that I feel like I couldn't do it necessarily, but it's not yet in the mind yet. It's somewhere in there. Thank you.
Hello, Jennifer. My name is Mark. It's okay. Thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you.
And my question is, the song "What a Feeling" from Flashdance is still on the radio for so long. Great song. My question is, whenever you hear a song on the radio, do people ever give you any reactions when they hear that song because it's so closely associated with you?
Well, usually we're not in the same room. Like if I have the radio on, like there's not anybody else that I don't know in the room. But like if I'm in a store or something, or most of the time people don't recognize me, honestly. So I don't. No, not so much.
Same question. Do you ever get mistaken for other celebrities?
Say again?
Do you ever get mistaken for other celebrities?
No, but I once got Jessica Beals' mail. Like that got mistakenly sent to me. It's like, I think this is for her.
Maybe question.
Hi, Jennifer. My name is Carlos.
Hello.
I really loved what you said earlier about having your mom writing you into stories.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I really liked what you said earlier about your mother writing you into the stories
Oh,
that she
yeah.
was reading. That's
Yeah.
a great way to approach fiction. So the question for you is, what's on the top of your mind? What fictional universe or otherwise would you love to get into right now?
Well, my next thing is really focusing on this next film that's coming up and putting all my energy there. Like I do have projects that I'm producing, including a musical, which I'm really excited about, which is based on the documentary Alive Inside. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but check it out. It's very, very interesting and uplifting. But now I put all my energy into this next part. That's what I'm gonna do. And I can't wait. Like there's the back part of my brain is like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I think an update of a scene from the Divas movie when you were 40, celebrating your 40th birthday is in order.
Oh, what is that scene? Tell me.
Would you humor us and say 60 my ass?
60 my
And
ass.
a little face that you made because
I
you
don't
just,
remember that. You
you
guys
just
remember
keep getting
everything
more
that
and
I
doing
have.
better. You were getting all dressed up for your 40th birthday
Oh,
party.
okay, yeah. And
You looked in the
Salvador Perez was the designer.
It was a
And-
beautiful sparkly.
Yeah, Sal Perez designed
Yeah,
it, and yeah, he was so
You
sweet.
looked in the mirror and said, 40 my ass, with this really funny smirk.
Yeah,
It
okay.
was 60.
Yeah, I think I
Do
did.
it.
I did
Can
it
you do
with
it?
60 my ass, yeah.
Yes, good,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, I think we got our last couple of questions here.
Hello.
I think Flashdance was one of the first films where there's a young woman as the protagonist, which is really important. How does such a stratospheric start to your career affect how you sometimes look at your life and your career? And I don't mean fame, because you've said that's not important to you.
So give me more context. Keep talking.
That it's like, if I do a tennis analogy, it's like someone else at high school, they're in their first tournament, and they won the US Open. And I'm just curious how such an incredible start to a career would affect how you look at it later on, because now you have so much
Perspective.
background and perspective.
Right.
But yeah, how just curious that, do you think about that? How does that affect how you look at
I honestly don't think about it so much, obviously, because you try to be present, right? But there's every now and again, I'll look back on it and I will be thankful that I was simultaneously naive and incredibly tough. Like I've always, like my boundaries are drawn in Sharpie, for sure. And yet I was also very naive, which allowed me to be open. And I'm really grateful, like in terms of talking about how character builds on character builds on character, I'm really grateful that I got to start with somebody who was such a big dreamer. You know, that's like the beginning of the legacy of characters, is that somebody's going to, against all odds, go after that thing that makes them happy, and will have support from people inside that story to push them along. So I'm really grateful for that. But I didn't, the fame certainly, I didn't even take that in. Like it's not, I've never thought that way. And it's so fascinating to me when agents or managers will say, oh, you should do this because after this, and this will happen. And I'm like, I just am really interested in the making of the meal, not necessarily of where it goes after. Like I want to be inside that experience and then and honor that as much as I can, because I do think that stories help us heal. And it can be the oddest story that can help you heal, you know? The most unexpected story that helps you heal. And I want to be part of that. I mean, the other things, like, I've never, ever been the kid who has practiced an academy speech. Never occurred to me. Never occurred like, I want this award, this award, this award. I want this recognition, this recognition, this recognition. Recognition is nice, but what's even better is that really intangible, ineffable moment, like when you're inside a scene and you know that it's working and that this energy you're creating is going to go out into the world and make some kind of ripple, like, and be helpful in some way. Like, that's the most exciting thing to me.
Yeah, and besides, so Beck voted in that in her mayoral campaign, Passion, Progress, Closer. I think it's the best slogan and poster, real or fictional.
Yeah.
And the collage looks a lot like the work of the artist Lisa Butler. Is that a coincidence, or do you
That the poster does?
Yeah. It's
I
because
think,
of the collage.
no, I don't think it was on Lisa's work.
Yeah.
I mean, I discovered her work later.
Yeah.
I don't think that the art department knew of her work. I think it was probably based on something else. But I love Lisa Butler's work. Have you ever seen it in person? Oh my gosh, they'll knock your socks off because they're gigantic. The pieces are so big and really, really moving, really beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's hard to follow.
This is Barbara.
You and I share a love of Fitzgerald. And as much as I love and admire and respect and adore Beth Porter, Margot, I mean, your role in that is just absolutely unbelievable.
Thank you.
And I reread the novel the other day, and it was hard for me to remember that as much as I read it, that character is not in the book.
Right.
I think I read somewhere, I might have dreamt it, that Billy Ray created that role for you.
Yes, yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about how that transpired? And how you felt to be offered to work at a Fitzgerald novel?
Yes, yes. Okay, my love affair with F. Scott Fitzgerald goes back a long way. And it's so intense to the point where my friend Walter Mosley was doing a reading for, I think it was like LA Talks or something, and it was being hosted in this lovely apartment on Crescent Heights. And the person who was introducing him said, "Oh, and we are in F. Scott Fitzgerald's apartment." I gasped out loud like a total fangirl. And the guy goes, "And that is the correct response." And I was so excited to be there. So I have loved this author for a very, very long time. And so when Billy Ray called me and said he had conceived of this character that would be inside The Last Tycoon, and this character does not really exist in The Last Tycoon, I immediately said yes and then started shaking. Like I was shaking from the moment I first talked to him. I was so scared and so excited. Probably like the moment before you're about to give birth to a child, you know, like it was sort of like that. And you realize that F. Scott Fitzgerald couldn't even conceive of a character like that. Like that would have been so outside of the realm of his culture, that to conceive of a biracial movie star who was not passing like out of abject shame, but was going to take over the town. Was going to take over the town. You know? It was incredible. It was an incredible experience. I love that character. And I had dinner with Billy Ray recently, and he said, "That is my favorite character I've ever written." And I was like, that is such an honor. He is very, very busy man, but I'm sure, well, talk to him. I'll tell him Barbara says you want.
All right, time for our
Barbara,
final
talk to me
question.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I want to say first, thank you for your work. It's very important to me, and I'm sure a lot of people here. So we talked a little bit earlier about the favorite Bette and Tina scene.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Bette and Tina scene is the long-awaited reunion kiss they had in season 3 of Gen Q.
Oh, okay.
And I was wondering, how did you approach that scene, knowing that maybe a lot of the fans were waiting for it and had maybe expectations about it?
I don't think it was, you know, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, but in that situation, you're not thinking about the fans, you're thinking about the reality of the scene, like the truth of the scene, and what is, you know, it's the reality of doing and honoring the story, because, you know, the writers have given you what they see as the blueprint, and then you're interpreting it, and we knew the fans would be really excited, but it wasn't like, okay, let's do this because the fans will X. It's like, let's do this as honestly as possible, and then the fans will respect that. But like the scene that follows, like the whole sex scene, we just laughed hysterically, like most of the time, and probably ruined a lot of takes just by laughing and going, oh my God, are we doing this again? Like, how old are you? And how old are you? Like, okay. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank you again so much for taking the time to spend with us here at Washington State SummerCon. Now, are you headed back to autographs this evening? Or?
I go where they tell me
Okay,
to
well,
go.
there's a good chance if you haven't had a chance to get an autograph. I know I'll be getting in line this